fighting terrorism for 10 years, I came to the conclusion that there is no chance in the world to defeat Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, without defeating their ideology. Defeating their ideology not by attacking Islam. I am not here to attack Islam. By simply exposing the real nature of Islam. How do we know the real nature of Islam? Only one way, of exposing the real identity of who Muhammad is, the messenger of Islam and the prophet of Islam. If we go and try to find the controversial about the real nature of the Quran, this is a peaceful verse, and somebody responds with a violent verse, then someone else, and it's a controversial, it's a mess. So we tell them, okay, sorry, people here in the West don't know the real nature. They cannot read Arabic. It's not people's fault here. And you're taking full advantage of fooling people because they don't understand your language and the real nature of your religion. I simply say, let's study the behavior of the Prophet of Islam. They're saying that it's a religion of peace. And I simply say, was your prophet a peaceful man? Or he was a man of war? Did he kill? Did he conquest civilizations? Did he spread his message by sword? Were there hundreds of thousands of people who were killed because of his message? And the answer, not from the Muslim mouth and not what I say in the Quran and in the Islamic books, yes, he did. He's a man of war, he's not a man of peace. And this is the way, one of the most important things to know about the real nature of Islam. So, if this is the real nature of Islam, are we going to keep repeating this lie and distinguishing between moderate Islam and fanatic Islam? We will never be able to defeat this enemy. And when I say this enemy, as ideology, not as Muslims. Our problem is not with Muslims. Muslims are peaceful people. And what they're trying to do to protect their identity. They protect their identity by protecting Islam. Unfortunately, Muslims have no idea what Islam is all about. The image of Muhammad that they have in mind, the modern Muhammad, is totally different than the Muhammad who lived 1400 years ago. Their understanding of the Quran is totally wrong because they don't know the language of the Quran. We have 1.5 billion Muslims, 300 million of them only speak Arabic, and less than 5% of the 300 million understand the language of the Quran. In order to understand the language of the Quran, that's very different than the street language, you have to go through hundreds of books to be able to understand it. What we did recently, we translated the Quran into the street language and we exposed all the mistakes in the Quran. The second step is going to be to expose the real identity of Muhammad. Today, what's happening in the Middle East? And I said after this revolution against the political systems in the Middle East, this is the beginning of the collapse of the entire religion that I compare it to the Dark Ages, when Christians did not have access to the Bible. They were listening to their leaders. It was in Greek. They could not even have it. They couldn't afford having a Bible. And the revolution started when Martin Luther hanged his 95 theses on the All Saint Church. This is where the revolution started, the actual revolution. That the revolution starts in the heart, revolution against the powers of darkness, before it's a revolution against political systems. It's very easy for the young generation in the Middle East to go against political systems, but they don't understand that their problem is not with political systems. Today, we can keep supervising what's happening in the Middle East and trying to lie to ourselves by trying to find weak answers or explanation for what's going on. And this corrupt political regimes would be replaced in much worse political regimes. It can be the Muslim Brotherhood, it can be Hamas, or even much worse. In order to bring peace to our world, we need to expose the powers of darkness. And Islam, religion in general, is one of those. It's against humanity. And I don't see any problem of exposing the real nature of Islam and the real nature of Muhammad. Muslims will be the first to turn their back on Islam. This is what we have been doing, and this is what we are working on. And I understand the sensitivity of this, but my goal to liberate my people. If we keep fighting the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, we will never win this war. Israeli intelligence that I worked for is one of the most, let's say, experienced agency of fighting terrorism. And I personally developed methods because I knew the culture, the religion, the people, the movement, the language. I personally developed methods how to fight terrorism, and we were very successful. But we could not stop violence, and we could not stop terrorism. Maybe we could reduce that, but it still exists because it exists in every mosque, in every Islamic book, in the behavior of Muhammad, that he's the highest model for Muslims. So for the future, I care about my people, and when I see that my people in the captivity of this dark religion, I feel very sorry. And I personally went through this fight, spiritual fight, to get out of the captivity of a God that hates, of a God that is asking his followers to destroy and explode, blow themselves up. And I know it takes lots of courage and lots of sacrifice to do this. Most people rather to stay in their captivity. They don't want to leave their comfortable zones, and they are not willing to pay the consequences. But this is the time to encourage them, and this is where I'm coming from. This is not the time to compromise and fool people anymore. And I am sure that with individual efforts that we will be able to make that region a much better region and much more stable. So either way, we wait, and we wait for Islamists to take over the Arab countries, and they can because they have the highest authority, Allah, to their side. Or we work very hard from now on to be able to educate Muslims about the real nature of Islam and fight their ideology, because their ideology is their strength. If we can defeat them there, they are not a threat anymore.